System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' Inner City Left.
This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Today is Thursday, January 15th. I am Amin TMK alongside Amoja, Lil Tanky Sumler. Amoja, hello. Happy Thursday. How's your week been going? How has your day been going?
Man, ups and downs, you know. Well, what they say on Wall Street, too. You know me, highs, no lows, whatever the fuck. Good day, bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to stay even keeled in this world because, global tragic events happen on a daily basis and you just still have to go about your life, even though we stay informed and we push back. And that's one of the reasons why we're here and one of the reasons they love us or hate us. But yes.
Every day on the left that you got the ice water in your veins and not at your front door, you're doing good.
There it is. Because ice is certainly wherever you at, ice
Slippery.
might be there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they slip. Even ice slips on ice. It's crazy out there. Anyway, that's for another show. Let's talk about Iran. Let's talk about the protests, man. You don't understand the protests because Iranians are tired, of living under a Iranian regime. They would like to return back to the Shah. They would like to return back to a monarchy, or so they say. Just want to bring to everyone's attention Mike Pompeo. Very important person, at least former.
Not a whole lot of people have been the Secretary of State and the head of the CIA. Probably streamlined the whole thing.
Yeah, facts. And I was about to say ex-CIA head, but we know there's no such thing as being an ex-CIA member.
He's probably not the head anymore.
Well, I mean,
Hydra.
Some people will call it deep state, and some people say that the Shogun of the Dark or the Shadow is even more powerful than those in the front. But he said not just a week ago that Happy New Year to Iranians and all the Mossad agents walking next to them. So a week late or a few days later, we have these so-called protests happening in Iran, including things like burning down mosques, which is something that Muslims do often. I think it's more or less sort of this idea that Iran is under social degradation or social oppression, where you can't do the things that you would want to do, and there's all this oppression against women and things like that. And then those things are sort of pushed out to the American media, the Western media, and you start to have people agreeing with them. We saw this with the abduction of Maduro. People, people in the Latino world, clapping for it and things like that. Again, I think it has to do more with white supremacy. I think it has to do more with your connection or your proximity to wealth, proximity to capitalism. And that's what Western society brings, wealth for a few. So these are large protests. I'm going to get your thoughts here in a second. So I just wanted to preface some of this stuff so we can get off on the right foot. Because, there seems to be a huge sort of propaganda push on trying to make this seem like this is a massive protest against the current political structure in Iran, and that the majority of Iranians want to go back to the Shah. And that is the narrative that's been put out. You know what? And I'll just let you take that from there and give me the real of what's actually happening.
So there are lots of things that are happening, right? When we talk about the protest in Iran, you have to think about it at least in three different ways, right? At least. And you probably could break it down even more. So there are people that are legitimately protesting, like the financial management of the government, right? And even that, you need to look at how that is a response, a predictable response by way of creating sanctions on the state, right? Because that makes everything higher for the average person, right? And this is one of the goals of a sanctions regime, to foment this type of seemingly organic disruption within the people. Oh my God, why is inflation so high? Why are eggs so much higher? Because the average person doesn't understand, well, every country that does business with us has to have a 25% at least sub-tariff on top of that goes to the United States, which makes every single thing that we buy as citizens more expensive, right? The average person doesn't understand economic theory like that. And so you can say at best, those are the people that are misguided, but legitimately protesting their government. That's not the same thing as what has happened, right? So that's one group. There is another group that by night has been protesting very loudly, right? Violently, right? These are the people that kind of go hand in hand with what Pompeo was talking about. These were the people that are burning down mosques, okay? Attacking law enforcement in Iran. Right. And I say this not out of any particular deference to anything other than how would the United States react if there were, think about all the things they claimed about Black Lives Matter protest, right? But this is now actually happening. People are attacking the law enforcement in Iran and burning down buildings of worship, right? Which, regardless as to what you believe in, that should be offensive to you, right? Like, we would be very unhappy if protests in France burned down, what is the very famous French hunchback, Notre Dame, right?
Like, if it already burnt, yeah.
Right.
True, but it burned down for real, though. But
Right. But it wasn't burned down by protesters. You know what I'm saying? With all of the wild things that French do, they don't burn down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Notre Dame.
You don't burn down your place of worship.
Houses of worship. Those are just not things that regular people do. Okay, so those were the people that, by and large, had the battery in their back from the other governments, right, that were providing them instructions. Now, there's a third group of people that were parading, and no one talks about them. And these were by far the biggest parades. These were the people that were coming out in support of the Iranian government. Look, you don't kill the messenger, but it's a fact. If you go out and look at the biggest gatherings of the people, where the millions of people are in the street in Tehran, those were the ones that were protesting the protesters, the ways that the country was being right.
That's something that we see in America as well, and it's something that happens. And to your point, they always want to cover one side of it, even though we know that the majority of people are protesting for the current government and against U.S. interventionism, Israeli interventionism.
About how many we've had more than 5 major parades through Venezuela, right, since the capture of Maduro, where the people are demanding the return of their president. None of this is on CNN. None of this is on Fox News. None of this is on MSNBC, because that doesn't support the imperial narrative. And you have this exact same thing happening in Iran. People that are protesting the way that the protesters have been. Okay. And so those are the 3 different groups. Now, everyone talks about the internet being cut down without understanding, right? The United States government practices information control all the time. Sovereign nations do this, right? Whenever there is something you can't download in your country, right? Because, that is the exact same thing that's happening. What happened was a lot of the instructions, right? Now, this is coming from the Turkish whispers on the Turkish side, that there were orders being given through Starlink, right? So when they shut down the internet and they could see all of the people that were using the Starlinks, that's where they knew where all the infiltrators were coming from. Once the internet access was shut out, and like we talked about on the last podcast, up to 80% packet loss, right? Starlink had never been successfully jammed before, and certainly not on a nationwide level, and certainly not from a nation like Iran, like where they wouldn't have even believed that such a thing was technologically possible. There are rumors that the Chinese provided some technical support. You know what I'm saying? There are rumors that the Russians, but the reality is more than likely this thing happened. Whoever allowed it, however, whatever technology was utilized, this happened. And from there, they were able to find the ringleaders of this, which have now been captured by the government. You know what I'm saying? And most of them are being charged for treason, because that's what would happen in the United States if you attacked a member of law enforcement, right? I mean, look at what they're saying. The ICE agent who, what is his name? Stephen Miller, right? Who put out the whole status talking about complete protected immunity for any members of ICE, how they don't have to answer to local law enforcement, right? Like, just imagine if Pezeshkian had put out that exact same worded thing. And that goes to the hypocrisy of like the way the West acts as it relates to other countries. Your country alone is doing these things. You don't have to wonder. And right, I think another thing that has really been discovered by this, we've all been wondering what would be the impact of Paramount acquiring CBS, right? What do we get now? These stories of 12,000, 15,000 protesters killed in 3 days. Like, even the Israelis are not able to do those kind of numbers in Palestine. And they're using tanks, they're using bombs, they're using airplanes. Like, and people non-critically accept this, like, without any pushback. Like, respectfully, the average person has no idea how long even a military it would take to kill 12,000 people. I'll put it like this. The Battle of the Bulge, which was the bloodiest battle in World War II that the Americans were a part of, they only lost 18,000 people. And that took over a month. That's armies and tanks, and you know what I'm saying? Like, but then people believe that literally this government was able to go, like, even if the internet was down, which most people now have accepted for a fact that the internet was able to be pulled down in Iran by the government, that doesn't stop you from doing videos. Think about in Israel during the so-called 12-day war. Like, they were forbidden to stream where those bombs were hidden, but that video was still taken. And those videos released themselves. They found their way to the world, you know? Where are the videos? Where are the videos of the 12,000 people that died? Like, we have to look at these things critically, not just because, like, oh, we don't like Iran, which, by the way, as an American, why do you have a position on liking Iran or not liking Iran, right? If it's based on, oh, it's a theocracy, okay, where is this feeling as it relates to the Vatican, which is a literal theocracy, right? It is ruled by the Pope. He's a head of state, right? Why don't you provide that same type of respect for the leader of the Shia faith, right, that you would for the Vatican, right?
Let's talk about what Homeland Security literally put out yesterday, which are Bible verses. They're doing this constantly. So right. When people are like trying to get at like the idea that, oh, America is not about Christianity, well, it is. And it's in part, it's imbued and entrenched in everything you do. You know, I grew up, I played football. Football is completely dominated by Christianity. Like, you can't even be on a team without having to go to like a prayer circle or something. Right. So, and you have, again, I know name. It is harmful. And it's like this idea that like, oh, well, you can be your religion, you can be free religiously wherever you go, or these type of things, or that America has freedom of religion, but we know that's not true. We know that you can practice or whatever, but you will be targeted. We do know that if you are a Christian, that's a benefit to your standing in society. Being Christian isn't necessarily a hedge. You got to be the right kind of Christian. And that's mind-blowing. Well, I mean, think about it in this way. Like, if you also have to go to the narratives that they're trying to push, which is, again, evangelical Christianity, which lends its idea to, Jews being in Israel, which leads to the Balfour Declaration, which leads to the Holocaust currently in in Palestine, which leads to the destabilization of countries like Iran, which is the whole point. If you care about Palestine, if you care about what's going on in Gaza, the Holocaust in Gaza, what's happening in the West Bank, the ethnic cleansing, this is a direct response to Iran protecting the Palestinians. This is a direct response
100%.
to Somaliland being created because we want to destabilize. I'm going to let you get just a second. I just want to get this point across. This is the whole point. Is Venezuela was to help Israel. To destabilize China, it's a bigger game. It's a larger game. And when people are willful idiots to the state, to imperialism, the gusanos of Iran, they exist. They're the gusanos of Venezuela. We know them for Cuba so well, but they exist here to try to push this narrative of it was better with the Shah or muddy the waters. Well, some people are right and some people are wrong. No, Iran has the right to run. They just had an election because their president died in a accident.
Possible assassination.
Accident. So they just had an election, but you're not okay with that. Again, it goes back to the whole thing. But you're okay with Mohammed bin Salman. But you're okay with King Abdullah.
Right. It's not ideologically compatible to have been pro-Palestine, anti-genocide, right, and then to be against one of the only country you can argue reasonably provided more support for the Palestinian cause than Iran is possibly Ansarallah. And really, it just depends. It depends on how you want to categorize that help, right? But if your position was anti-genocide,
Ansarallah was helped by Iran as well.
Absolutely, right? So that goes back to what I'm saying about you have to see how sometimes the empire uses the lack of understanding of how the geopolitical web pulls countries together, right? Like far more than Mohammed bin Salman, far more than Erdogan, right? Or any of these people have been in real support for Palestine. That's mostly been the Iranian people, the Iranian government, the Iranian military, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, right? That protecting Palestine has been an unwavering project of theirs since the 1979 revolution. These are just unavoidable, truthful facts, And the other thing I would say is, again, as you're stating, America sees itself as a Christian nation, right? So why then is there not a right for people to look at Iran as this is what these people have chosen? Because it is what they have chosen. There's no way you can go to a no kings parade and then argue about reinstalling a Shah. There's no way you can honestly think in your mind that a Shah is more democratic than whatever system exists in Iran, where tens of millions of people vote every election. They have far, far more voting participation in their public than Americans. Less than 50% of Americans vote. And then those Americans will then, with gall in their voice, talk about how there is no democracy in the Middle East except for Israel, right? Where a significant percentage of the Israeli population doesn't get to vote at all. We can't even look at that.
Yeah, no, I mean, well said. And let's talk. I just want to again just say this, just to be clear with everybody here. This is not about feelings. This is not about of course, I have feelings about Iran. I have feelings about Iranians, and I have feelings about their history and how important it is to society. But again, ancient societies of culture and intellect and religion and spirituality, those are not looked at as great bastions of humanity. Like places like China, one of the oldest cultures in the world.
I was thinking about that. Like, liberals love the Dalai Lama, right? It's problematic as the Dalai Lama is, but they cannot respect an Ayatollah. Like, just wrap your brain around that.
Let's say what it is. It's Islamophobia. They hate Islam. They know that it's a disciplined religion. They know that it's anti-Western society. They know that it's anti-capitalism, and you can't convert people through that. That's why organizations like ISIS exist, to continue to push Wahhabism, which is a fascist ideology in of itself. It's a repressive ideology. This is not how most people practice Islam in the world. And that's why you see the former deputy of ISIS literally running Syria right now. Not a joke. So do you want that type of government in Iran? I mean, you mentioned the Lebanese government and how Christianity plays a part in a role in their government. I mean, it goes back to the thing is like, look at yourself
first. The Lebanese government is by constitution has to be Christian. 30% of the government is run by Shias, 30% is run by Sunni, and 40% is run given a constitutional majority, super minority, right? The 40% are Christians. So, I mean, again, no one has a problem with this in Lebanon.
You know, it's a touchy subject because leftists do not want to believe or understand that people are going to be religious and have religions. They want to just have a world where everyone just picks their own spirituality, and today it could be this and today it could be that. That's not how most people in the world operate. And if you don't, because you don't respect the global South, because the global South is religious. So you don't respect the global South and you don't respect religion. And that is why you believe every country, every woman in a Muslim country is oppressed. You believe every person in the LGBTQ plus community is oppressed outside of America and Israel. And you are playing the role of the state.
You're doing the ops work for free, you know?
Yeah. Let's
and they got jobs. Go get your life situation better, man. Don't be opping for free, man. Don't be a part-time op.
They do have
a full-time op, man. They got government benefits and shit.
Let's be real.
Silly motherfuckers.
Let's be real. MAGA has jobs. If you need a job, MAGA got a job for you.
Obama ain't got no jobs, but MAGA got jobs.
Biden did a decent job, I think, you know, trying to get these like TikTok people. But now I don't even think that they try to get people. They just see who they like and they like, hey, let me draft you. You know, but there's a huge propaganda machine going on for MAGA in the West. You don't need a college degree
to join ICE right now, and you will have a 6-figure salary.
Yeah.
Like, Republicans got jobs for their really people.
Good look. Yeah, that's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Don't opt for free, man. Go get paid.
Let's move on to Russia. I think it's important to talk about earlier this week, another Orishnik hit Lviv. This is the one of the westernmost cities of Ukraine. There has been some discussion, controversy of what it was used for and what it actually hit. But I think it is just another sort of warning and or escalation in this war, this special military operation in Ukraine. And it still remains Russia winning. The points on the board are the same. And I keep hearing all of this. Oh, well, you know, the peace treaty or the peace plan, the peace plan is supposed to allow certain amount of, you know, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian troops and, you know, NATO troops and all these things, of course, are non-starters. And Orishnik, something that does not exist in the Western world. Again, hitting Lviv. This also maybe not the trigger, but amongst other things happening in major Ukraine cities, huge blackouts in Kyiv. This is not new. They've been having rolling blackouts for quite some time. And it is winter and it's cold. So Ukraine is suffering at the hands of Russia. Maybe they should do a peace negotiation. But tell me a little bit about the Orishnik. Did it hit anything and kind of what is the fallout, no pun intended, from this?
The irony about this, right? This goes to, I remember when we collect knowledge, you go to all kinds of places, you know. And I was listening to a Putin speech that he gave to Tucker Carlson once, and he talked about how good the Americans are at information war, and how you can never beat the Americans in a propaganda battle. And I get it, but it just goes to show, I say as an American, how much Putin still doesn't get it. Like, you have to try, right? Whether or not you're going to, you don't have to defeat the Americans at messaging, but you should be the master of your own messaging at the very least, right? No matter what they say about you, they should be what you say about you. And that's what I mean about this, talking about the Oreshnik strike. I have a lot of reasons to believe that Oreshnik strikes are devastating, just looking at the physics involved. When you're talking about a heavy metal alloy, right, something like a tungsten rod or any type of, you know, those rare heavy metals that you know, and you're projecting these things and expediting them to factors of up to 14 times the speed of sound as it travels through steel, right? That creates an incredible amount of kinetic energy. When you're talking about warheads that have 6 to 48 warheads coming out of one body, right? All being accelerated to this, all hitting these areas in perfect saturation, coming down at anywhere from Mach 10 to Mach 14. That's incredible devastation. That's just the physics of it. Where the Russians have failed is there are no photos of this. Do you think the Ukrainians are going to put photos out of it? Fuck no. They're going to show the least amount of damage possible. Oh, it barely grazed a shed, right? Then meanwhile, like a Shahed drone goes into Kyiv, you know, and they're like, oh my God, it blew up an entire skyscraper, right? But then the Oreshniks come and they're like, oh, you know, it wasn't a big deal. But they never show photos. Russia should be showing the photos. They should be using their satellites to show these things to the world. Like, look at what we are capable of doing. Because the Americans are not going to do this, okay? You're going to have the heads of NATO saying things like, oh, I'm unimpressed, as if there is any type of technical capability right now for the West, right? Because they have to do this dance, and it's quite skillful. It's the NATO has to be prepared for war at all times against Russia, and Russia is a paper tiger, right? At the same time, like, so when it comes time to Ukraine, it's like, oh my God, we have to be ready for war in 2 to 3 years. Russia's going to take over everything. But then when they do their really advanced weapons projects, you know, NATO's like, no, it's not really that big a deal, right? And you can't walk both of those walks, but that's what they've been able to do. The rumors are, right, and it consists of rumors. That's all we have, and that's the fault of the Russians. But the rumors are that it was some type of secret NATO installation that was in Lviv. It was supposed to be theoretically out of the range of Russian missiles, and there wasn't even a warning. This thing crossed the entirety of the nation in under 15 minutes and struck pay dirt exactly where they planned to. Just a devastating weapon. It's the most powerful non-nuclear weapon that exists in the world right now. And the implications are it's now mobile. You know, it can be fired from other types of platforms that are land-based. The real threat will be when they finally miniaturize this and can weaponize it on satellites. Not satellites, but submarines. That's when that weapon will truly enter a devastating threat mode for anyone. You know, when you're talking about a hypersonic missile that has multiple reentry warheads, that's a really scary weapon. And you don't need a boom to make that. It's just the very force, the impact with which it strikes. You know, bullets don't explode. They shred themselves in your body, right? That's what this missile does. It doesn't explode. It rips itself apart at whatever it hits at Mach 10 to Mach 15. That's damage. That's big damage. I want to circle back to Iran and just say real quick, the rumors consist that this is not over. right? There's been threats that there will be a return of hostilities. The president of the United States has specifically suggested that force will be utilized. There are rumors that at the last second he changed his mind, but we all know that all of this is information war right now. This is a psychological operation. It's a psyop, just like what happened in Venezuela. No one should be feeling certain of anything right now, and rumors persist that before the month is over, the war in Iran will have begun again anew. It just looks like they weren't able to get the type of internal saturation that they wanted to ensure more effective military. And that's the other thing that y'all need to look at when you out there carrying this water, because all y'all claim to be anti-war, but it's anti-war except, but either you anti-war or you not anti-war, right? They utilize these protests to manufacture consent for the Americans to but themselves all the way through another war. Do you want war with Iran? Yes, no. Most of the people claim to not want that, Then don't create the opportunities for your government to exploit where your mentality is. The government's going to do what the government does, but you don't have to sanction it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're anti-war, you understand that they're going to do these things, but you don't have to provide intellectual and moral cover for it.
There was one more thing I wanted to ask you about before we get out of here. And that is sort of, what is going to happen to Greenland, and essentially not only what is going to happen to Greenland, but also how is that going to be viewed by the rest of Europe? You know what I mean? So this is NATO Chief Rutte, and someone asked him if NATO was in a crisis because, obviously Denmark, Greenland, Germany has mentioned, like, don't do it, so there's all this narrative going on. So this, I'm just going to play this video and get your response.
Facing now with Donald Trump saying we should go to Greenland and, take it. Or do you even see that as an internal crisis? Or is it not a crisis at all? And is the best way of communicating with Mr. Trump and trying to maybe smooth the relationship is the way that you have been using communication so far, which was basically flooding him with compliments and calling him daddy? Thank you.
Yeah, let me start with challenge you a bit on the second part of your question. What I always do is when people are helpful for the alliance and are doing good stuff, and I believe that Donald Trump is doing the right things for NATO, by encouraging us all to spend more, to equalize this, what the US is spending. We had a very successful summit in The Hague, where we decided on the 5% defense spending, including 3.5% from core defense. I'm absolutely convinced without Donald Trump, we would never have had that result at the summit in The Hague.
Your thoughts on Greenland and, that video there.
Mark Rutte, man. What can you say? It's just fascinating the way he emasculates himself, for Donald Trump. I mean, calling this man daddy, I say it all. Imagine if Putin was talking about taking Greenland, right? What's happening in Ukraine right now, it's important to remember always. 50 years ago, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, which most people just say Russia. They're not the same, but they've been tied to each other for hundreds of years. Over 1,000 years, the destiny of the Kievan Rus has been tied, right? The United States has literally no connection to Greenland, none. And yet, this man threatens to take Greenland. Please do not think this is just a Donald Trump thing, right? Because the plans for the United States to acquire Greenland, man, that's been a little quiet project the United States has been working on for more than 50 years. Again, we already have American missile defense there. So, these are things that just Americans don't know. Our bases are everywhere. We have military forces in Greenland. If we want to physically take it, it could be done. And at the end of the day, even if the Europeans could do something to stop it, they couldn't. You know what I'm saying? First off, they can't. They're not strong enough. And this is what the Americans are proving in Venezuela. We'll take your shit. Europe is not strong enough to stop the United States from taking it if they choose to take it. And this is a hard lesson for the Europeans because they, for so long, ruled through force. They ruled the African continent. They ruled Asia, right? They're not used to being ruled. And the Americans are ruling the Europeans right now, and they're showing them the power of strength. Europeans are not strong. Americans are strong. Russia is strong. China is strong. Europe is not strong. Europe is intellectual. And they're meeting the limits of what intellect can do. You're not going to be able to talk the Americans out of taking this. You can either try to defend it and lose, or you can get paid. I've already said, I feel like more than any other thing, this will be a financial transaction. That makes the most sense. But the most important thing to remember in all of this is the indigenous people that live there are not from Denmark. They're not from the United States of America. They're from Greenland. And I find it just ironic, once again, in this age of still moralizing goodness, right? We're going to save Iran from the bad, evil mullahs, right? This is the same country that just says straight up, I'll take your shit. I'll kidnap your president. There's nothing you could do about it. I'll take your country. I don't give a fuck. That's you have to respect the American brashness, the American honesty in this way. They're quite honest. If you ain't strong enough to stop us, we'll take it. And the Europeans would never allow this rhetoric from Russia. And Russia isn't even descendant like that. Russia just doesn't want parts of what used to be it to be used as a weapon against it. America has no real reason for Greenland except for offensive capabilities. You want to be able to threaten shipping lanes. You want to have new naval outposts. You want to be in control of the new ice lanes that are coming now that the Russians are breaking through the Arctic ice and creating roads. And you want to be able to position missiles in places that other missile defenses will have difficulty stopping. The strategic importance of Iceland is of Greenland is hard to ignore. Greenland is forget all the stories about the minerals. This is military. This is strictly military. It's 100% military. The economics of Iceland, of Greenland, aren't even. Again, you can get at it, but you still, at the end of the day, you still need the Chinese to process your rare earths. So just because you can ore and mine more of them doesn't necessarily give you access to it, because Americans still can't process these things. So all of the ore you have in the world is, it's like the thing about in Niger, right, where they have all that uranium, right, but they don't process it there. It's not worth that much because you still have to have it processed to make it worth something, because that's what the market says. It's not about materials. It's not bad that Greenland is filled with materials, but that's what land masses are. There's something everywhere. Whatever land mass you have, there's mineral wealth there if you know how to extract it and get it to market. But this is strategic. This is not market. The Europeans will not be able to stop this. The Americans are going to do it. They're going to come up with whatever language they need to make it work. At the end of the day, they will probably buy it from Europe. And I just find it ironic because, once again, I want to point at all of the Democrats that never made D.C. a state. We keep coming back to these points. Never made Puerto Rico a state, right? Now you got a person like Trump who's going to go and make Greenland part of the United States, a territory, and possibly a state if he wants to. It shows you the strength of a will, right? For good or for bad, Donald Trump executes will, which for some reason Democrats never seem to have the strength to do. That's why it's so funny when the little ops and the bots is in the comments thinking that we carry any water for these Democrats. That ain't the tanky.
What it reminds me of is Japan in a lot of ways. Japan was an imperial force for much of its existence. And even then, it was taken over by the largest imperial force, which is the United States of America. And sort of that respect of power, this is what I respect because this is what I do. The fascist nations kind of always bend the knee. And, I think you're right. That is what Europe has done. They've been so often the colonizer. And, now the United States is sort of doing that to them. And for them, they're just kind of going right into the mentality of, like you said, hey, daddy, and that is what many Europeans are looking at people like Mark Rutte and Kaya Kallas and, all the bunch that we have there, which is, what I feel like is just they're carrying the Victoria Nuland flag. To me, it's just all Victoria Nuland at the end of the day. But yeah, anyway, we going on a little bit long, but look, man, I feel like these episodes is going to get, the duration is going to be increased just because we really are sort of, this is the year where I think, every year
we're doing a tango on a razor blade, buddy. We're doing a tango on a razor blade.
Yes. But again, hey, we appreciate y'all. Let's just wrap this thing up. Let's give a shout out to our podcast listeners. We're available everywhere you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're there. Don't ask me where to find it. You put Inner City Left into whatever the thing is that you do, and we will pop up. There is no need to get a link. You just type it in. Same thing with our music. You don't need no links. Lil Tanky, everywhere you find music. Amin TMK, wherever you find music. What was the other person that was reviewing our music? She called me
Amin Timic.
Amin Timic.
Amin Timic. That's it.
Yeah, just search Amin Timic anywhere you go, and you'll find us. Patreon.com/InnerCityLeft. We appreciate y'all. Budding, lovely, wonderful environment. I'm getting better sharing things as well, because we do want to show you we're cool guys. I think maybe I'm horning my own toot here, but we do what we can. And last thing, Fables, Foibles, Other American Sins, right behind me, right there. Get your copy. Link in the description. People who want to get on our show and stuff, please stop sending me emails. You cannot. I will email you when you can come on our show. We don't even have that big a show. Like, why are you trying to, I get it. We're punching above our weight class. Oh, we're almost at 800 subscribers. So if you're watching this, send this to one of your friends and bother them to subscribe. Okay. You're doing it for the revolution.
Because I promise you, the algorithm will not. Only you can share us because the algorithm will not.
Yeah, but I am so happy for the growth that we have, and I'm so happy for the listeners that we do have because, it's a lot of neoliberal BS out here. And I wish I could be flowery and happy and say that we're close to victory, but we're not. We're very far away. And it requires us to learn and grow and evolve and take the harsh reality straight instead of, trying to add the BS. Or maybe you could smoke something. That's cool. It helps me sometimes. I'm going to say when I'm smoking. All legal, of course. I'm going to stop talking. Amoja, any final thoughts before we slide out of here? Help me here.
Biatch.
For Amoja, Lil Tanky Summer, I'm Amin TMK. This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Peace.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' Inner City Left.